I'm Selena Wang in Washington, and we begin with breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump will be sentenced on January 10th. The Manhattan judge overseeing Trump's criminal prosecution today ordered him to appear either in person or virtually for sentencing next Friday. Trump was convicted in May of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records about a 2016 hush money payment to porn actress Stormy Daniels. For more, let's bring in ABC News senior reporter Catherine Falders live in West Palm Beach, Florida, near Mar-a-Lago. So, Catherine, what's the latest here?
So this obviously comes as Trump's attorneys had filed a motion to have that hush money case in Manhattan dismissed. The judge rejected that and instead said that he must appear, Donald Trump must appear either in person or virtually to be sentenced on January 10th. That's only 10 days before his inauguration. But what the judge appears to indicate in this memo, in this decision, and this is important, he signals that he's intending to sentence Trump to what's called a quote-unquote unconditional discharge out of respect for the presidential immunity doctrine. We've been talking a lot about that presidential immunity decision at the Supreme Court, and the judge has said that he intends to sentence him to this unconditional discharge. Now, what does that mean? It essentially means that Trump just gets off with a mark on his record. We've talked a lot about the potential for jail time or some other sort of sentence. That is unlikely to happen here, and the judge essentially says as much. But it is big news that he will still be sentenced. He doesn't have to go in person. He can appear virtually. It's his decision, and he will need to do that 10 days before he is inaugurated as the next president.
Thank you, Catherine. And now let's bring in our ABC News senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky. Aaron, just walk us through this, and is this a surprise?
Oh, I think this is entirely stunning. We did not know what Judge Juan Merchan was going to do. He has rejected all of Trump's attempts to outright dismiss the criminal case following his conviction in May on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. But there was this uncertainty about what it would mean for a president-elect to be sentenced in a criminal case. Could it be pushed for 4 years and have it hanging over Trump that entire time? And now we know the answer. Judge Juan Merchan has ordered Trump to appear either in person or virtually on January 10th, 10 days before the inauguration, to be sentenced. Now, the sentence is going to be an unconditional discharge, which means Trump is going to effectively not be punished for his conduct. And the judge said he does not want to interfere with the separation between the judicial and the executive branch, does not want to interfere with notions of presidential immunity. But he is, I think, signaling that there is a jury verdict. It needs to be respected. And so he is going to order Trump to appear for sentencing, even though that sentence effectively isn't going to be much of anything.
Yeah, that timing just days before the inauguration. So, Aaron, sticking with you, just walk us through the surprise here and what was expected and how that is a big contrast from this unconditional discharge.
You know, Selena, I don't know that anything was expected because the whole case is unprecedented. But in theory, Trump faced a sentence of up to 4 years in jail for his conduct of falsifying business records tied to the hush payment just before the 2016 election to porn actress Stormy Daniels. And prosecutors with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office called this the original election interference case. He didn't want the public to find out, according to the prosecutor's theory, that he had these allegations, even though he denied them, of an affair with Stormy Daniels. And so he paid her off, $130,000. Arranged by his then attorney, Michael Cohen. And even though the conduct called for potentially 4 years in jail, we spoke to legal experts over the last several months who did not expect an incarceratory sentence. But we're never sure what the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, was going to ask for. Here, the judge is going to make clear now he's going to get an unconditional discharge. We know what the sentence is going to be, but he is going to insist that Trump appear for it to uphold the integrity of the jury verdict. And I have to say, Selena, the decision is also a scathing indictment of Trump's conduct during the trial. If I may, he says that the defendant's disdain for the third branch of government, whether state or federal, in New York or elsewhere, is a matter of public record. And indeed, the judge's decision goes on to say that Trump has gone to great lengths to broadcast on social media and other forums his lack of respect for judges, juries, grand juries, and the justice system as a whole. And so this does seem to intended to send a message to Trump that the Judge Merchan's not going to tolerate that.
Yeah, you heard that strong message that the judge is sending to Trump, but this unconditional discharge is a very, very different from the theoretical possibility of years in prison. I mean, Catherine, how do you see the president-elect reacting to this, considering his bitter history with Judge Juan Merchan?
Yeah, look, it will be pretty predictable. We haven't heard from President-elect Trump yet or his legal team that represented him in this matter. But if we are to guess, he will obviously say what he said before. He does not like Judge Merchan. He tends to post often about that on Truth Social. So I can imagine you will see something quite similar in terms of his reaction to this news. But also the question is, and I know Aaron's laid this out too, granted this is 10 days before the presidential inauguration, he can appear virtually, he can do this in person, travel up to New York to do this. What ultimately will he decide to do there? We don't know. But at this point, given that this news just broke, he hasn't yet reacted in any way yet.
So, Aaron, we've seen Trump notch a number of legal wins since he was elected. I mean, what is left in terms of Donald Trump's legal challenges at this point?
Not much, in fact, except there are, in addition to this sentencing now on January 10th, it's only civil judgments that he will enter office have hanging over his head, including a $5 million award for defaming E. Jean Carroll. He is appealing another outcome in a separate case involving E. Jean Carroll that ordered him to pay $83 million. That appeal is still pending. And then there is the big one, the $500 million judgment from the New York civil fraud case, still awaiting an appellate decision in that as well. So it's very possible that he takes office as president free of any criminal distractions, but still with several civil legal cases hanging over his head, Selena.
And Aaron, I just want to walk through our viewers just in a little bit more detail, this unconditional discharge. So you're saying essentially this is just a mark on his record. Does this have any practical impact on Donald Trump?
I'm not sure that it does, to be honest. And, you know, we're still going through this 18-page ruling, but the judge says there is no legal impediment to sentencing Trump here. But he does suggest that he doesn't want to interfere with the presidential duties that Trump is about to undertake. And so he feels he doesn't have any choice but to sentence him to this unconditional discharge. It's just a matter of not letting Trump, you know, get away scot-free and not even being able to acknowledge that there is this jury verdict against him.
And Catherine, Aaron touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just want to read to you some of what Judge Juan Merchan wrote in this. He was scathing of Donald Trump's character. He said that the defendant's disdain for the third branch of government, whether state or federal, in New York or elsewhere, is a matter of public record, criticizing Trump for going to great lengths to broadcast on social media or other forums his lack of respect for judges, juries, grand juries, and the justice system as a whole. Your reaction to that, and in specific also how you think Donald Trump might react to that if he does at all?
Yeah, he will certainly react to that, and he will probably react by doing something that Merchan notes that he does, which is broadcast on social media his disdain for judges and juries. We've seen that quite often, especially in Judge Merchan's courtroom, as Aaron is familiar. During that trial, Trump was under a gag order that he repeatedly violated. He was not to, at the time, speak about any of the parties, the witnesses, the staff to the judge involved in the case, and he did. So he was obviously under a gag order there for comments that he has made about judges and juries and witnesses and the whole justice system as a whole, according to Merchan's ruling. So that isn't necessarily surprising to read. It's a sentiment that Merchan has expressed before. Obviously, during these proceedings, I'm sure Trump will have some reaction to it. As Aaron notes, this isn't particularly short ruling, so I can imagine that Trump's legal team is still reading this and going through this as well.
And do you think they would see this as a victory, another legal victory?
Trump's team certainly will not see this as a legal victory at all, granted that he will be sentenced, and he will be sentenced 10 days before the inauguration. I think that the only thing that they would see as a legal victory would be Marans saying that he wasn't going to be sentenced at all and completely tossing out any of the additional proceedings involved here. So I think that they will take great issue with this ruling, despite the unconditional discharge element of this, which is likely and surely something that Trump, knowing how he reacts to these types of things, specifically this judge, certainly something that Trump will take great issue with and be quite upset about.
And Aaron, I'm just hearing from our producer that you just got off the phone. So any reaction from either side at this point?
So far, no comment from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, although we are told that Trump is expected to file for a stay of the January 10th sentencing hearing. That could occur as soon as today. Maybe it comes Monday. But as Catherine notes, he's not going to see this as a win. Quite the opposite. I don't think he wants to take office 10 days after having appeared for a sentencing hearing. So it's possible that this will get tied up in the courts yet again. So we'll have to wait and see whether January 10th at 9:30 in the morning actually takes place.